My beloved child, stop scrolling for just a moment. Take a deep breath and listen carefully. This is not an accident. You did not find this message by chance. You did not stumble upon these words because of luck, coincidence, or some random moment in your day. Before you clicked on this video, before you paused to read these words, I already knew you would be here. I have been waiting for this moment. Through every distraction, every disappointment, every sleepless night, and every silent struggle, I have been calling your name. Again and again, I have reached for your heart, not because I want something from you, but because I love you more deeply than you can imagine. My child, there is something I need you to hear today, something your soul has been longing for, something the noise of the world has tried to drown out. I see what others cannot see. I see the burden you carry when no one is looking. I see the questions that keep circling through your mind. I see the fear you try to hide behind a smile. I see the exhaustion that has settled deep inside your heart. And I know there have been moments when you wondered if anyone truly understood what you were going through. I understand. I always have. There were nights when you felt completely alone, but I was there. There were moments when you thought you had reached your limit, but I was holding you together. There were times when you felt forgotten, overlooked, or left behind, but I never took my eyes off you, not for a single moment. My child, what I am about to tell you may change the way you see everything that has happened in your life. The pain, the waiting, the unanswered prayers, the closed doors, the disappointments that left scars on your heart. None of it was meaningless. None of it escaped my attention. And today, I am asking you to quiet every other voice for the next few moments and listen to mine, because the message you are about to hear is not meant for everyone. It is meant for the person who feels tired, the person who feels lost, the person who has been trying to stay strong for far too long, the person who secretly wonders if their breakthrough will ever come. If that person is you, then stay with me. Do not scroll away. Do not let this moment pass, because heaven has been preparing this message for you, and before this month comes to an end, there is something I need you to understand. You are not forgotten, you are not abandoned, and your story is far from over. My beloved child, there is something I need you to understand before we go any further. I saw the battle, not the one everyone else could see, not the struggles you talked about openly, not the problems you posted about or shared with friends. I saw the battle you never told anyone about. I saw the tears you wiped away before anyone could notice. I saw the moments when you locked yourself away because you didn't have the strength to explain what you were feeling. I saw the weight you carried while pretending everything was fine. Others saw your smile. I saw the pain behind it. Others saw you keep moving forward. I saw how exhausted you really were. There were days when simply getting out of bed felt like a victory, yet no one knew how hard you had to fight just to make it through another day. But I knew. I saw every silent struggle. I heard every unspoken prayer. Even the prayers you never formed into words reached my heart. The sighs, the tears, the moments when all you could do was sit in silence and wonder how much longer you could keep going. I heard them all. My child, there were nights when your mind would not rest. You replayed conversations. You worried about the future. You questioned yourself. You wondered if things would ever get better. Fear whispered lies into your heart, telling you that nothing would change. Telling you that you were alone. Telling you that no one understood. But those whispers were not the truth. Because while you were lying awake, I was watching over you. While anxiety filled your thoughts, I was holding your future in my hands. While you were trying to figure everything out, I was already making a way where you could not see one. I know there were times when disappointment hit you harder than you expected. Doors closed, people left, plans fell apart, opportunities disappeared. And each time it happened, a small part of your heart wondered if you had somehow been forgotten. You asked questions you were afraid to say out loud. God, where are you? Do you still see me? Do you still have a plan for me? My child, the answer has always been yes. Yes, I see you. Yes, I hear you. Yes, I still have a purpose for your life. The battle you have been fighting is not proof that I abandoned you. In many ways, it is proof that I have been strengthening you. Because despite everything that came against you, you are still here. You may not feel strong. You may not feel victorious. You may not feel ready for what comes next. But look at how far you have already come. There were moments you thought would destroy you, yet you survived them. There were storms you thought would sink you, yet you are still standing. There were days you thought you could not endure another hour, yet somehow you made it through. Do you know why? Because I never left. Not for a moment. When you cried, I was there. When you doubted, I was there. When you felt abandoned, I was there. When you felt too weak to keep going, I was carrying you in ways you could not see. My child, I know the battle has been long. I know you are tired. I know there are wounds that still need healing. But I need you to hear this with your whole heart. The fact that you are still here is evidence of my faithfulness. You are not the person you were when this battle began. The struggle changed you. The pain shaped you. The waiting strengthened you. And even now, when you cannot fully see what I am doing, I am working. I am closer than you think. I am more involved than you realize. And the chapter you are living through right now is not the end of your story. Because what you thought was breaking you is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. My beloved child, one of the hardest things for you to understand has been my silence. I know there were moments when you prayed and heard nothing. Moments when you cried out for answers and were met with what felt like an empty sky. Moments when you begged for a sign, a breakthrough, a change, anything that would show you I was listening. And when nothing seemed to happen, you began to wonder if I had gone silent. You wondered if I had stepped away. You wondered if your prayers were reaching me at all. But my child, hear me now. I was never silent. I was working. What felt like silence was often preparation. What felt like absence was often protection. What felt like delay was often my hand arranging things you could not yet see. You were looking for immediate answers. I was building a lasting future. You were asking me to remove the struggle. I was using the struggle to strengthen you. You wanted the storm to end. I was teaching you how to stand in the middle of it. Many times, you judged my activity by what you could see. But my greatest works often happen where human eyes cannot reach. Roots grow underground long before fruit appears above the surface. A foundation is built before a house rises. A child develops in secret before entering the world. And in the same way, I have been doing some of my most important work in the hidden places of your life. There were doors you desperately wanted opened. You prayed, you waited, you hoped. And when those doors remained closed, disappointment settled into your heart. You thought I had ignored you. But what if those closed doors were actually my protection? What if the opportunity you lost would have taken you away from the purpose I had prepared? What if the relationship that ended would have wounded you more deeply than you realize? What if the delay that frustrated you was preventing a greater heartbreak? You see a moment. I see the entire journey. You see today. I see every tomorrow. That is why there were times when I said no. Not because I wanted to hurt you. Not because I enjoyed watching you wait, but because I love you enough to protect you from what you cannot yet understand. My child, there were also seasons when I was healing things inside you before giving you what you were asking for. Because if I had released certain blessings too soon, they would have crushed you instead of helping you. Your character needed strengthening. Your faith needed deepening. Your heart needed healing. There were lessons that could only be learned through waiting. And while you thought nothing was happening, transformation was taking place. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. I was teaching you patience. I was teaching you trust. I was teaching you how to depend on me instead of circumstances. I know the waiting has been difficult. I know there were days when you felt forgotten, days when everyone else seemed to be moving forward while you remained stuck. You watched others receive opportunities. You watched others celebrate victories. You watched others step into blessings you had prayed for yourself, and you wondered why your turn had not come. But comparison has hidden many truths from you. You only saw their victories. You did not see their battles. You only saw their harvest. You did not see the years they spent planting seeds. And more importantly, you forgot that I am writing a different story for you. Your timeline is not their timeline. Your calling is not their calling. Your journey is not their journey. I have never been in a hurry because I already know the ending. I know exactly where I am taking you. I know every blessing I have prepared. I know every lesson you still need. I know every miracle that is already moving toward you. And while you have been focused on what has not happened yet, I want you to look at what has. You are stronger than you were, wiser than you were, closer to me than you were, more resilient than you were. The very things you prayed for years ago are already happening inside you. You simply expected them to look different. My beloved child, do not mistake my silence for inactivity. Do not mistake waiting for abandonment. Do not mistake delay for denial. I have been working every single day. Even when you could not see it, even when you could not feel it, even when you thought nothing was changing. And one day soon, you will look back and realize that the season you thought was empty was actually the season where I was preparing everything you had been praying for. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been forgotten. And what I have been building behind the scenes is greater than anything you can imagine. My beloved child, there is something you have misunderstood about the season you have been walking through. You thought it was breaking you. You thought the losses, the disappointments, the delays, and the battles were signs that everything was falling apart. There were moments when you looked at your life and wondered if you would ever recover from what happened. You wondered if the damage was permanent. You wondered if you would ever feel whole again. You wondered if the best parts of your story had already passed. But my child, what almost broke you was actually preparing you. I know that may be difficult to believe. Pain has a way of convincing people that it serves no purpose. Suffering often feels meaningless while you are living through it. But I see what you cannot see. I see beyond the current chapter. I see the person you are becoming. And I tell you now that the struggle was accomplishing far more than you realized. Think about gold. Before it shines, it must pass through fire. The fire is not meant to destroy it. The fire removes what does not belong. The heat reveals its true value. And in many ways, your life has been going through a refining process. The pressure exposed hidden fears. The waiting revealed where your trust truly rested. The disappointments uncovered wounds that still needed healing. The setbacks revealed strengths you did not know you possessed. What felt like destruction was often transformation. What felt like punishment was often preparation. You have asked me many times, why did I have to go through this? And while there may not be one simple answer, there is a truth I want you to hold on to. The person I am calling you to become could not be shaped without growth. And growth often happens in uncomfortable places. The strongest trees do not develop in perfect conditions. Their roots grow deeper because they face storms. Their strength increases because they endure seasons of wind and resistance. Likewise, your roots have been growing, not where others can see, not where applause can reach, but deep beneath the surface, in the hidden places of your soul. You may not realize it yet, but you are stronger today than you were before this journey began. Years ago, certain challenges would have crushed you. Certain disappointments would have destroyed your hope. Certain betrayals would have left you unable to move forward. Yet here you are, still standing, still believing, still searching for me, still listening. That is not weakness. That is evidence of growth. My child, some of the things you lost were never meant to go with you into your next season. Certain relationships had to end. Certain expectations had to be released. Certain versions of yourself had to be left behind. I know it hurt. I know there were moments when letting go felt impossible, but I could see what you could not. I could see how tightly you were holding on to things that were limiting your future. And because I love you, I would not allow temporary comfort to steal your greater purpose. The truth is, many of the things that disappointed you were actually redirecting you. Many of the doors that closed were protecting you. Many of the plans that failed were making room for something better. You simply could not see it yet. But one day, you will. One day you will look back and understand that what seemed like the worst season of your life became one of the most important. Because it taught you how to trust me. It taught you how to persevere. It taught you how to keep moving forward when nothing made sense. Most importantly, it taught you that your strength does not come from circumstances. It comes from me. My beloved child, I know there were days when you felt weak. Days when you thought you had reached your limit. Days when you questioned whether you could continue. But every time you kept going, even when it was difficult, something was being built inside you. A deeper faith, a stronger character, a greater compassion for others, a wisdom that can only come through experience. And these gifts will serve you in ways you cannot yet imagine. The season that almost broke you is becoming the foundation for the season that is about to elevate you. The tears were not wasted. The waiting was not wasted. The struggle was not wasted. I have been using every part of your journey, every lesson, every wound, every victory, every setback. And soon you will begin to see that the very things you wished had never happened are becoming part of the testimony that will inspire, strengthen, and encourage others. So do not despise the road you have traveled. Do not curse the season that challenged you, because what almost broke you was actually preparing you for a future greater than anything you have dared to imagine. And what I am about to do next will make the preparation worth it. My beloved child, there is something I need you to understand about the battles you have faced. For so long, you have looked at your struggles as proof that something was wrong with you. You saw the attacks. You saw the setbacks. You saw the disappointments. And you began to wonder if perhaps you were simply unlucky. Perhaps you were forgotten. Perhaps you were destined to live a life of constant struggle. But my child, the truth is very different. The enemy did not attack you because you were weak. He attacked you because he feared what I placed inside you. Long before you recognized your purpose, the enemy recognized your potential. Long before you saw your future, he saw the possibility of what your life could become in my hands. And he has spent years trying to convince you to quit before you ever discovered it. Think about the intensity of the battles you have faced, the fear that appeared without warning, the discouragement that seemed to arrive just when you were making progress, the voices that told you to give up, the moments when hopelessness tried to settle over your heart. None of these things appeared by accident. There has been a battle over your destiny, a battle over your faith, a battle over the future I have prepared for you. The enemy knows something many people forget. A healed person can help heal others. A delivered person can help set others free. A restored person can become living proof of my faithfulness. And because of that, he tried to stop the process before it was complete. He wanted you to believe that your story ended in pain. He wanted you to believe that your mistakes defined you. He wanted you to believe that your failures were permanent. Most of all, he wanted you to stop trusting me. Because the moment a person loses hope, they stop expecting miracles. The moment they stop expecting miracles, they stop moving forward. And the moment they stop moving forward, they begin settling for far less than what I intended. That is why so many of the attacks came against your mind. The enemy knew that if he could control your thoughts, he could influence your future. So he whispered lies. You are not enough. You will never change. You missed your opportunity. You are too broken. It is too late. But those words never came from me. I have never spoken hopelessness over your life. I have never called you worthless. I have never told you to quit. Even during your darkest moments, my voice was still calling you forward, still reminding you who you are, still reminding you that your story was not finished. My child, look back for a moment. Think about everything that should have destroyed you. The heartbreaks, the betrayals, the disappointments, the seasons when it felt like everything was falling apart. You survived things you once thought would end you. Do you know why? Because my hand remained upon you. The enemy may have attacked, but he never had the final word. The storm came, but it did not take you out. The fire came, but it did not consume you. The darkness came, but it could not extinguish the light I placed inside you. That light is still there, even if it feels small, even if fear has tried to cover it, even if disappointment has caused you to doubt it. The purpose I placed inside you is still alive. The calling I placed upon your life is still intact. The future I prepared for you has not been canceled. My beloved child, one day you will realize that the very areas where you were attacked most heavily reveal the areas where you carry the greatest purpose. If you were attacked with fear, it is because courage lives inside you. If you were attacked with discouragement, it is because hope lives inside you. If you were attacked with rejection, it is because you were created to walk in acceptance and love. If you were attacked with confusion, it is because clarity is part of your future. The enemy always attacks what he fears most, and what he feared was not your past. He feared your future. He feared the person you are becoming. He feared the testimony that will emerge from your pain. He feared the moment when you finally realize that I never left you, and that every battle has been preparing you for victory. So do not let the attacks convince you that you are losing. Sometimes the greatest battles happen right before the greatest breakthroughs. Sometimes the strongest resistance appears just before the door begins to open. And my child, whether you realize it or not, you are much closer to that moment than you think. The enemy sees it. That is why he has fought so hard. But soon, you will see it too. My beloved friend, before we continue, I want to pause for a moment. If these words are touching your heart, if you feel that God is speaking directly into your situation right now, don't keep this moment to yourself. Take a second and type, "I will not give up." Let that comment be your declaration of faith today. Not because everything is perfect, not because all your questions have been answered, but because you are choosing to trust God, even while you're still waiting. And if this message is encouraging you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every like helps this message reach someone who may be struggling in silence. Every share may place hope into the heart of a person who desperately needs it today. Remember, God is not finished with your story. Stay with me, because what He wants you to hear next may be exactly the confirmation you've been praying for. My beloved child, after everything you have endured, I know there have been moments when you asked yourself a difficult question. How much longer? How much longer must I wait? How much longer must I fight? How much longer before things finally change? And while I may not always reveal the exact timing, I want to show you something important. There are signs that your breakthrough is closer than ever. Many people expect a breakthrough to arrive suddenly, like a lightning bolt from the sky. But often, before the breakthrough appears, there are signs that the season is already changing. One of the first signs is that you are no longer the person you used to be. You may not realize it, but the struggles that once controlled you no longer have the same power. The fears that once stopped you do not stop you as easily. The opinions of others no longer define your worth the way they once did. You have changed. You have grown. You have become stronger than you know. And growth is often the first evidence that a new season is approaching. Another sign is that your hunger for truth has increased. You find yourself wanting more of me, more peace, more purpose, more understanding. Things that once distracted you no longer satisfy you the way they used to. The things of this world feel temporary. The things of eternity feel more important. That is not an accident. I am preparing your heart for what comes next. My child, another sign is that despite all the reasons to quit, you are still here. You have every excuse to walk away. You have faced disappointments. You have experienced delays. You have battled discouragement. Yet something inside you keeps pushing forward. Something inside you refuses to surrender. That strength is not coming from you alone. It is coming from me. I have been sustaining you even when you felt weak. I have been strengthening you even when you felt exhausted. And the fact that you are still standing is a sign that your story is not ending here. There is another sign many people overlook. You have begun to see things differently. The same situations that once filled you with panic now cause you to pray. The same obstacles that once made you feel hopeless now remind you to trust. You may still have questions, but there is a growing sense that I am with you. Even in uncertainty, even in waiting, even in difficulty, that growing confidence is not wishful thinking. It is faith developing beneath the surface. And faith often grows strongest just before the breakthrough arrives. My beloved child, you may also notice that old doors are closing while new opportunities quietly appear. Some relationships are changing. Some environments no longer fit who you are becoming. Some habits are losing their hold on you. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like loss. But many times, I remove what no longer belongs before introducing what does. You cannot fully step into a new season while holding tightly to an old one. That is why I have been making room. That is why certain things have shifted. I am preparing space for the blessing that is coming. And perhaps the greatest sign of all is this. There is a peace beginning to grow inside you that does not make sense. Not because every problem has disappeared, not because every prayer has been answered, but because deep within your spirit, You know I am working. You know I have not abandoned you. You know that something is changing. You cannot fully explain it. You cannot fully see it, but you can feel it. That quiet confidence is often the whisper that comes before the breakthrough. My child, do not become discouraged now. Do not give up in the final stretch. Do not allow frustration to steal what faith has built. The enemy wants you to quit right before the answer arrives. He wants you to walk away right before the door opens. He wants you to lose hope right before the miracle appears. But I am telling you today, hold on. Stay faithful. Stay close to me. Keep believing, even when you cannot yet see the evidence, because what you have been praying for is not as far away as you think. The seeds you planted are growing. The prayers you prayed have been heard. The promises I made still stand. And what I have been preparing behind the scenes is already moving toward you. Your breakthrough is closer than ever. Closer than yesterday. Closer than last month. Closer than the day you first began praying for it. So lift your head, strengthen your heart, and keep walking forward, because the season you have been waiting for is beginning to come into view. My beloved child, now that you are standing closer to your breakthrough than you have been in a long time, there is something I must warn you about. Do not let fear steal this moment. The enemy knows he cannot change the plans I have for you. He cannot erase the promises I have spoken over your life. He cannot remove the purpose I placed within you. But what he will try to do is convince you to walk away from what I am bringing you toward. That is why fear often becomes strongest right before a breakthrough. You may have noticed it yourself. Just when you begin to hope again, doubt appears. Just when you begin to believe something good is coming, anxiety starts whispering. Just when a new opportunity appears, fear tells you all the reasons it might fail. This is not a coincidence. Fear is the enemy's attempt to keep you focused on what could go wrong instead of what I am doing right. Fear wants you to look backward when I am calling you forward. Fear wants you to replay old disappointments instead of expecting new possibilities. Fear wants you to believe that because something failed before, it will fail again. But my child, your future is not determined by your past. I am not limited by your previous experiences. I am not restricted by what did or did not happen yesterday. I am the God who creates paths where there were none. I am the God who opens doors no one can shut. I am the God who specializes in situations that seem impossible. So why are you listening to fear? Fear speaks loudly, but it does not speak truth. Fear says you are not ready. I say I have been preparing you. Fear says you are too weak. I say my strength is made perfect in weakness. Fear says you missed your chance. I say your appointed time is still ahead. Fear says nothing will change. I say I am already working behind the scenes. My beloved child, one of the greatest mistakes people make is allowing fear to make decisions that should be made through faith. They stay where they are because it feels familiar. They refuse to take the next step because it feels uncertain. They remain trapped in old patterns because change feels uncomfortable. But growth rarely happens inside comfort zones. The life you have been praying for often exists on the other side of fear. The healing you desire often begins when you stop listening to fearful voices. The breakthrough you seek often arrives when you trust me enough to keep moving forward despite uncertainty. Think about how many times fear has lied to you before. There were situations you thought would destroy you, yet you survived. There were seasons you thought would never end, yet they passed. There were problems that seemed impossible, yet somehow a way was made. Fear predicted disaster, but disaster never came. Fear told you that you would fail, yet here you are, still standing, still moving, still growing, still being carried by my grace. So why believe fear now? My child, I need you to understand something important. The opposite of faith is not uncertainty. The opposite of faith is allowing fear to have the final word. Faith does not mean you have every answer. Faith means you trust me even when you do not. Faith means taking the next step even when you cannot see the entire path. Faith means believing that my goodness is greater than your doubts. And right now, that is exactly what I am asking you to do. Take the next step. Not 10 steps, not the entire journey, just the next step. Trust me with today. Trust me with this moment. Trust me with the burden you have been carrying, because the fear trying to stop you is not evidence that you should turn back. It may actually be evidence that you are moving in the right direction. The enemy does not waste his energy attacking people who have already given up. He attacks those who are getting closer. Closer to healing, closer to freedom, closer to purpose, closer to the blessing they have been praying for. That is why I am telling you today, do not surrender to fear. Do not allow doubt to steal your expectation. Do not let yesterday's disappointments define tomorrow's possibilities. Lift your eyes, fix your heart on me, and keep walking, because the moment fear is trying so desperately to steal may be the very moment that changes everything. And what I am about to do next will require you to believe bigger than you ever have before. My beloved child, after all the waiting, all the preparation, all the battles, and all the lessons, I need you to hear what I am saying to you right now. A new season is beginning, not because the world has changed, not because every problem has disappeared, but because I am opening a door no one can shut. For so long you have focused on the doors that closed, the opportunities that slipped away, the relationships that ended, the plans that did not work out, the dreams that seemed delayed, and because those losses hurt, you began to believe that closed doors were the final answer. But my child, a closed door is not the end when I am the one writing your story. There were doors I closed because they were leading you away from your purpose. There were opportunities I removed because they would have become distractions. There were things you desperately wanted that would have eventually wounded you. I know it was difficult to understand at the time. I know you cried over some of those losses. I know you questioned my decisions. But now I want you to see those moments differently. Those closed doors were not rejection. They were redirection. While you were mourning what ended, I was preparing what was next. While you were asking why, I was building something better. While you were looking behind you, I was creating a future in front of you. And now the season is changing. Can you feel it? Not necessarily around you, but within you. There is a growing expectation, a growing sense that something is moving, a growing awareness that the chapter you have been living in cannot last forever. That feeling is not your imagination. It is the whisper of hope returning. It is the evidence that I am already at work. My child, the door I am opening may not look exactly the way you expected. Sometimes people pray for one thing, but I answer with something greater. Sometimes they ask for relief, but I give them transformation. Sometimes they ask for a small blessing, and I prepare an entirely new direction. Do not become so attached to your expectations that you miss my invitation, because what I have prepared for you may exceed what you have been asking for. You have prayed for healing. I am bringing restoration. You have prayed for provision. I am teaching you abundance. You have prayed for peace. I am drawing you into deeper trust. You have prayed for a breakthrough. I am preparing a new season. My beloved child, there is another reason I need you to pay attention now. When a new door opens, fear often tries to convince people to stay where they are. The familiar may not be comfortable, but it feels predictable. The future requires faith. That is why so many people stand at the threshold of blessing yet never step through the doorway. They allow doubt to stop them. They allow old disappointments to hold them back. They allow past failures to define future possibilities. Do not make that mistake. The same God who carried you through the wilderness will carry you into the promise. The same God who sustained you during the waiting will sustain you during the breakthrough. The same God who protected you through every battle will guide you through every opportunity. You do not have to know every detail. You do not have to understand every step. You simply need to trust me enough to follow. Because where I lead, I also provide. Where I call, I also equip. Where I open a door, I also make a way. My child, I know there were times when you thought your opportunity had passed. You thought you were too late, too old, too damaged, too far behind. But I am not limited by human timelines. I can restore years. I can redeem mistakes. I can rebuild what was lost. I can create opportunities where none existed before. Nothing is impossible for me. Nothing. That is why I need you to stop measuring your future by your current circumstances. What you see today is not the whole picture. There is movement you cannot yet see. There are answers already on their way. There are prayers already being fulfilled. There are blessings already being prepared. And soon, what has been happening in secret will begin to appear in the open. My beloved child, Lift your head. Do not focus on what was lost. Do not focus on what did not happen. Focus on what I am doing now, because the door I am opening is not dependent on human approval. It is not dependent on luck. It is not dependent on perfect circumstances. It is dependent on me. And when I open a door, no person can close it. No obstacle can stop it. No enemy can destroy it. No fear can cancel it. So get ready. Get your heart ready. Get your faith ready, because the season of waiting is giving way to a season of movement. And you are much closer to that new beginning than you realize. My beloved child, after everything you have heard, after every reminder of my faithfulness, after every promise and every warning, we have arrived at a very important moment. This is your moment of decision. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when life becomes easier. Now. Because every breakthrough begins with a choice. Every new season begins with a step. Every transformation begins with a decision to trust me more than your fears. For a long time you have stood between two voices. One voice calls you forward. The other tells you to stay where you are. One voice reminds you of my promises. The other reminds you of your past failures. One voice speaks faith. The other speaks fear. And every day, whether you realize it or not, you choose which voice will guide your life. My child, I am not forcing you. Love never forces. I am inviting you. I am calling you. I am reaching for your heart. But you must decide how you will respond. Will you continue carrying burdens that I never asked you to carry? Will you continue allowing fear to write the story of your future? Will you continue believing the lies that say nothing will ever change? Or will you trust me? Will you trust that I have been with you through every battle? Will you trust that I have not forgotten your prayers? Will you trust that the waiting season had a purpose? Will you trust that what I promised will come to pass? My beloved child, there comes a moment when you must stop looking at what you have lost and start looking at what remains. You still have breath in your lungs. You still have purpose. You still have a future. You still have me. And as long as you have me, hope is never lost. The enemy wants you to believe that your story is already written, that your failures define you, that your mistakes have disqualified you. But I am telling you today that your story is still being written. The final chapter has not been completed. The best pages have not yet been revealed. The greatest testimony may still be ahead of you. That is why this decision matters, because the direction of your heart determines the direction of your future. Choose faith over fear. Choose trust over doubt. Choose hope over despair. Choose to believe that I am who I say I am. Even when circumstances do not immediately change, even when answers have not fully appeared, even when the path ahead is not completely clear, faith is not waiting until you see the miracle. Faith is believing before the miracle arrives. My child, this is your crossroads. Not a crossroads of perfection, not a crossroads of performance, a crossroads of trust. Will you continue walking with fear, or will you walk with me? I know the choice may feel difficult, but I also know what is waiting on the other side of your obedience. Peace, freedom, healing, purpose, and blessings beyond what you can currently imagine. So today, right here in this moment, make your decision. Not just with your words, not just with your emotions, but with your heart. Because the moment you choose to trust me fully, you begin stepping into the future I have been preparing for you all along. And one day, you will look back at this very moment and realize it was the turning point that changed everything. My beloved child, I know the waiting has not been easy. There were days when it felt endless, days when you looked around and wondered why everyone else seemed to be moving forward while you remained in the same place. You watched opportunities come and go. You watched others celebrate answers to prayers that sounded very much like your own. And deep inside, you wondered why your season had not arrived. I heard every one of those questions. I saw every tear that accompanied them. And today I want to leave you with a truth that will carry you through whatever remains of this journey. One day, you will understand why you had to wait. Not because waiting itself was the goal. Not because I enjoy seeing you struggle, but because there were things that could only be accomplished through the process. There were lessons that could only be learned in the waiting. There was wisdom that could only be gained through the journey. There was strength that could only be developed through endurance. And there was a version of you that could only emerge through trust. Right now, you see only a portion of the story. You see individual chapters. You see isolated moments. You see the pain of certain experiences and the disappointment of certain delays. But I see the entire picture. I see how every piece connects. I see how every setback redirected you. I see how every closed door protected you. I see how every challenge strengthened you. And one day, you will see it too. You will look back and realize that some of the things you begged me to remove became the very things that shaped your character. You will realize that some of the opportunities you lost were actually rescuing you from paths that were never meant for you. You will realize that some of the delays you resisted were creating the perfect timing for what was to come. My child, there are blessings that arrive too early and become burdens. There are opportunities received before preparation and they end in frustration. That is why my timing matters. That is why I sometimes ask you to trust when you cannot yet understand. Because I care not only about what I am giving you, but also about who you are becoming while you wait. The waiting season was never empty. I was there every day, working, guiding, protecting, preparing. Even when you could not see my hand, it was moving. Even when you could not hear my voice, I was speaking. Even when you thought nothing was happening, heaven was at work on your behalf. So release the bitterness. Release the disappointment. Release the belief that your waiting was wasted. It was not wasted. Not a single prayer, not a single tear, not a single moment. I have collected every one of them, and I will use them for good. My beloved child, the day is coming when you will stand in the middle of a blessing you once only dreamed about. And when that day arrives, you will not merely celebrate the blessing itself. You will understand the journey. You will understand the preparation. You will understand the waiting. And with tears of gratitude, you will say, "Now I see why God never gave up on me. Now I see why He asked me to trust Him. Now I understand why I had to wait." And when that day comes, your faith will be stronger than ever before, because you will know beyond all doubt that every step of the journey was held securely in my hands. My beloved child, as this message comes to a close, I want you to remember one thing above everything else you have heard today. You were never forgotten, not for a single day, not for a single moment, not during the nights when you cried yourself to sleep, not during the seasons when your prayers seemed unanswered, not during the moments when fear told you that nobody cared, and certainly not during the times when you felt abandoned by the people around you. I was there. I was there in every battle. I was there in every disappointment. I was there in every victory, every setback, every tear, and every prayer. Even when you could not see me, I was holding you. Even when you could not hear me, I was guiding you. Even when you doubted me, I remained faithful. My child, your story is not defined by your pain. It is not defined by your failures. It is not defined by the doors that closed or the opportunities that never came. Your story is defined by my faithfulness, the same faithfulness that carried you through every storm, the same faithfulness that protected you when you didn't even realize you were being protected, the same faithfulness that brought you to this very moment. And now I want you to move forward with confidence, not confidence in yourself alone, but confidence in the God who has never left your side. The road ahead may still contain challenges. There may still be days when you need to trust me without seeing the full picture. But never forget what I have shown you today. You are chosen. You are loved. You are seen. You are known. And you are deeply valued. The enemy may have tried to convince you otherwise, but he was lying. Your life has purpose. Your future has hope. And your best days are not behind you. They are still ahead. So lift your head, my beloved child. Keep your eyes on me. Keep walking forward. Keep believing, because the story is not over. The waiting is not the end. The struggle is not the end. This chapter is not the end. I am still writing your story. And what I have prepared for you is greater than anything you have left behind. You were never forgotten. You never will be. And I will be with you every step of the way. Heavenly Father, thank you for speaking to our hearts today. Thank you for reminding us that we are never forgotten, never abandoned, and never beyond the reach of your love. Lord, for every person listening right now, I pray that you would fill them with your peace. Calm every anxious thought, strengthen every weary heart, and bring comfort to every soul that has been carrying burdens for too long. Father, help us trust you in the waiting. When we cannot see the way forward, remind us that you are already working behind the scenes. Give us faith to keep believing, courage to keep moving forward, and wisdom to follow your guidance each day. Heal the wounds that others cannot see. Restore hope where disappointment is settled. Replace fear with confidence, doubt with faith, and discouragement with renewed strength. Lord, thank you for every door you have closed for our protection and every door you are preparing to open according to your perfect plan. Help us walk into the future with confidence, knowing that you go before us and remain beside us every step of the way. Today we place our lives, our families, our dreams, and our future into your loving hands. We trust you. We follow you. We believe in your promises. In the mighty and precious name of Jesus we pray. Amen. My beloved friend, before you leave this message, I want to invite you to make a declaration of faith, not because God needs your words, but because sometimes your heart needs to hear what your spirit already knows. If this message spoke to you today, if you believe God has not forgotten you, if you are choosing to trust Him with your future, then type this declaration in the comments. Lord, I choose you today. I trust your timing. I will not give up. Let those words be more than a comment. Let them be your commitment. Let them be your reminder on the difficult days ahead that God is still working, even when you cannot see it. And if this message encouraged your heart, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may be struggling right now. You never know whose life could be changed by a simple act of sharing hope. Remember this: you are loved, you are chosen, you are seen, you are never forgotten. Keep trusting, keep praying, keep believing, because the God who carried you through every battle will also lead you into every blessing He has prepared for you. Until next time, may God's peace fill your heart, His wisdom guide your steps, and His love surround you every day. Amen.